Fighting with the swords, gone. Playing with the brain, on. Let's play Giraffe Chess Hattrick League Season 3.
International Giraffe Chess Federation presents Hattrick League Season 3 between 10 Proddatur teams. Hello everyone, welcome to India's new 68 squared Giraffe Chess Academy Proddatur, and welcome to the live telecast of no draws, no resigns, only win or lose in just 70 moves Giraffe Chess Hattrick League 2024 Season 3. Let us watch Giraffe Chess Hattrick League 30th match between Proddatur Marshals team versus Proddatur Jaguars team. Each team consists of 3 players. Whoever team all outs opponent all 3 players is the match winners. Let us see the toss at the center of the court.
So, what you select? Head or tail? So it is the tail, toss won by the Proddatur Marshals. What will you select? Black side or white side? Toss won by the Proddatur Marshals and elected to play on white side.
And in toss, Proddatur Marshals team, they won the toss and opted to play on white side. And here is the both teams lineup for Proddatur Jaguars team. Nandan Sai is the opener and Vignesh is the second player, and Sinu comes to play as third player. And for Proddatur Marshals team, Sai Charan is the opener and Surya is the second player, and Danis comes to play as third player. Now, let us watch first game of the match between Proddatur Marshals team opening player Sai Charan Nayak versus Proddatur Jaguars team opening player Nandan Sai. Let us see among these two players who will win this game and who will do hat-trick and who will be the hat-trick hero of today's great match. Let us watch. Let us move on to the court. Young Scholar awardee Proddatur Marshals team opening player Sai Charan Nayak is ready to play on white side. Let us see on other side of the court, one-time hat-trick hero, best scholar awardee Proddatur Jaguars team opening player Nandan Sai is ready to play on black side.
Now we can see both players are ready to start game 1 of the match. Black side player Nandan Sai is ready to hit the clock. Yes, he hit the clock. Game 1 started.
Pawn to d4, pawn to e6, pawn to e4, pawn to d6, knight to f3, pawn to d5, pawn capture pawn at d5, queen capture pawn at d5, knight to c3, queen to d8, bishop to c4, pawn to c6, castling at king side, pawn to b5, bishop to b3, pawn to a5, pawn to d5, pawn to a4, bishop capture pawn at a4, pawn capture bishop at a4, pawn capture pawn at e6, pawn capture pawn at e6, queen capture queen at d8 and check to black king. King capture queen at d8. bishop to g5 and check to black king, king to e8, rook to d1, pawn to h6, bishop to h4, knight to f6, bishop capture knight at f6, giraffe capture bishop at f6, pawn to b3, pawn to a3, giraffe to e3, giraffe to c5, pawn to g3, bishop to d7, rook to e1, bishop to e7, knight to e5, pawn to h5, knight to g6, rook to g8, knight capture bishop at e7, king capture knight at e7, knight to e4, knight to a6, rook to d3, rook to d8, rook to d1, giraffe to a8, pawn to c3, pawn to h4, giraffe capture pawn at h4, rook to d9, pawn to b4, giraffe to b2, knight to b6, pawn to c5, pawn capture pawn at c5, knight capture pawn at c5, rook to d2, giraffe to a5, rook to e1, giraffe capture knight at d6, giraffe to e3, giraffe capture pawn at c3, giraffe to b1, knight to e4, pawn to f3, knight capture rook at d2, rook to d1, knight capture pawn at f3, king to g2, knight to e5, king to h3, knight to f3, king to g4, knight to f5 and check to white king, king to g5, giraffe to f3 and check to white king, king to h5, bishop to e8 and check to white king, king to h4.
Now Nandan
Rook to
Sai
h8
immediately
and check
moved
to
his
white king,
rook to
and it's a
h8
checkmate.
and set check to white king. It is not only check, it is a checkmate win to Nandan Sai. What a superb checkmate win to Nandan Sai. Sai Charan out. Proddatur Marshals team opening player Sai Charan out. And with this win, Nandan Sai, he won the first game and still need two more wins to do hat-trick and become hat-trick hero of today's great match. Let us watch second game of the match between Proddatur Jaguars team opening player Nandan Sai versus Proddatur Marshals team second player Surya. Let us see among these two players who will win this game and who will do hat-trick and who will be the hat-trick hero of today's great match. Among these two players, Nandan Sai already won the first game and now playing for winning second game. Let us watch what will happen. Let us move on to the court. Best Scholar awardee Proddatur Marshals team second player Surya is ready to play on black side. Let us see on other side of the court. One-time hat-trick hero, Best Scholar awardee Proddatur Jaguars team opening player Nandan Sai is ready to play on white side. Now we can see both players are ready to start game 2 of the match. Black side player Surya is ready to hit the clock. Yes, he hit the clock. Game 2 started.
Pawn to e3, knight to c6, pawn to c4, knight to f6, pawn to d3, pawn to e6, pawn to e4, pawn to d5, pawn capture pawn at d5, pawn capture pawn at d5, pawn capture pawn at d5, queen capture pawn at d5, giraffe to e3, giraffe to d6, giraffe capture knight at f6, pawn capture giraffe at f6, queen to e2 and check 2 blocking, queen to e6, queen capture queen at e6, pawn capture queen at e6, pawn to f3, knight to d4, king to d2, bishop to h6 and check to white king, king to d1, pawn to b6, bishop capture bishop at h6, bishop to a6, knight to c3, giraffe capture knight at c3, pawn capture giraffe at c3, knight to b5, pawn to c4, knight to d4, king to d2, pawn to b5, bishop to g7, rook to g8, bishop capture pawn at f6, knight to c6, knight to h3, pawn capture pawn at c4, pawn capture pawn at c4, bishop to b7, bishop to e2, rook to f8, bishop to g7, rook to g8, bishop to h6, knight to e5, pawn to f4, knight to g4, bishop capture knight at g4, rook capture bishop at g4, knight to f2, rook to h4, bishop to g5, rook to h5, bishop to f6, rook to f5, bishop to d4, rook capture pawn at f4, king to d3, rook to d8, king to e3, rook capture bishop at d4, knight to h3, rook to e4 and check to white king, king to f3, rook capture giraffe at e0, king to f2, rook to d2 and check to white king, king to f1, bishop capture pawn at g2 and check to white king, king to g1, bishop capture rook at h1, king capture bishop at h1, pawn to e5, king to g1, rook to e2, knight to f2, rook to d0, king to g2, pawn to e4, king to g3, pawn to e3, knight to e4, rook to c2, king to f4, pawn to e2, king to f5, rook to d1, knight to f6 and check to black king, king to f7, knight to d7, pawn to e1 and promotion is equal to queen, rook capture rook at d1, queen capture rook at b1, knight to e5 and check to black king, king to e8, king to f6, rook to f2 and check to white king, king to g7, queen to h5, knight to c6, queen to f7 and check to white king, king to h6, rook capture pawn at h2 and check to white king, king to g5, rook to g2 and check to white king, king to h4, queen to g7, king to h3,
Surya immediately moved
queen to
his
g3
queen
and
to
check to white king,
h2
and
and
it's a
said check
checkmate.
to white king. It is not only check, it is a checkmate win to Surya. Nandan Sai out. Proddatur Jaguars team opening player Nandan Sai out. And with this win, Jay Surya, he won the first game and still need two more wins to do hat-trick and become hat-trick hero of today's great match. And big disappointment for Nandan Sai, he lost the hat-trick chance.
Let us watch third game of the match between Proddatur Marshals team second player Surya versus Proddatur Jaguars team second player Vignesh. Let us see among these two players who will win this game and who will do hat-trick and who will be the hat-trick hero of today's great match. Among these two players, Surya already won continuously two games and now playing third game for doing hat-trick. Let us see what will happen. Let us move on to the court. Proddatur Marshals team second player Surya is ready to play on white side. Let us see on other side of the court. Two times hat-trick hero, best scholar awardee, Proddatur Jaguars team second player Vignesh is ready to play on black side.
Now we can see both players are ready to start game 3 of the match. Black side player Vignesh is ready to hit the clock. Yes, he hit the clock. Game 3 started.
Knight to f3, pawn to d6, knight to c3, giraffe to e6, knight to g5, pawn to h6, knight to h3, pawn to e6, giraffe to d3, giraffe to b5, pawn to f3, pawn to e5, giraffe to a4, pawn to c6, knight to f2, bishop to f5, pawn to g4, bishop capture pawn at c2, queen capture bishop at c2, giraffe capture queen at c2, bishop to e0, giraffe to b5, knight to h3, pawn to h5, pawn to d3, pawn capture pawn at g4, pawn capture pawn at h4, knight to f6, knight to g5, knight capture pawn at g4, rook to f1, pawn to f6, knight to f3, knight capture pawn at h2, rook to h1, knight capture knight at f3 and check to white king. Pawn capture knight at f3, rook capture rook at h1 and check to white king. Bishop to f1, pawn to f5, knight to e2, queen to h4 and check to white king. King to d2, pawn to g6, giraffe to e3, bishop to h6, king to c3, bishop capture giraffe at e3, bishop capture bishop at e3, pawn to d5, bishop to g2, rook capture rook at a1, pawn to f4, pawn to d4 and check to white king. Bishop capture pawn at d4, pawn capture bishop to d4 and check to white king. King capture pawn at d4, queen to f6 and check to white king. king to e3, king to f7, king to f3, knight to d7, knight to c3, rook to e8, knight capture giraffe at b5, pawn capture knight at b5, king to f2, queen to h4 and check to white king, king to f3, queen to e1, bishop to h3, rook to e3 and check to white king, king to g2,
Now Vignesh turn. Yes,
queen to
immediately
g1
moved
and check
his
to white
queen
king
to
and it's a
g1
checkmate.
and said check to white king. It is not only check, it is a checkmate win to Vignesh. What a superb checkmate win to Vignesh. And Surya, a big disappointment. He lost the hat-trick chance. He lost the second game against Vignesh. And Marshals team, he lost the second player Surya. And Vignesh, with this win, he won the first game and he has opportunity to make his team win by winning the next game. Now, let us watch fourth game of the match between Proddatur Marshals team last player Dharnesh Reddy versus Proddatur Jaguars team second player Vignesh. Let us see who will win this game. If Vignesh wins this game, his Proddatur Jaguars team won the match. If Dharnesh Reddy wins this game, match will be tied with 2-all games and go for fifth game for result. Let us move on to the court. One-time Hattrick hero, best scholar awardee, Proddatur Marshals team last player Dharnesh Reddy is ready to play on black side. Let us see on other side of the court. 2 times Hattrick hero, best scholar awardee, Proddatur Jaguars team second player Vignesh is ready to play on white side. Now we can see both players are ready to start game 4 of the match. Black side player Dharnesh is ready to hit the clock. Yes, he hit the clock. Game 4 started.
Pawn to e4, pawn to d5, pawn capture pawn at d5, queen capture pawn at d5, knight to c3, queen to e6 and check to white king, bishop to e2, pawn to g5, giraffe to d3, queen to d7, knight to f3, pawn to g4, knight to e5, queen to d8, giraffe capture pawn at g4, knight to h6, pawn to d3, knight to capture giraffe at g4, bishop capture knight at g4, bishop capture bishop at g4, queen capture bishop at g4, pawn to f6.
Now Vignesh immediately
Queen
moved
to
his queen to h5 and said
h5
check
and
to
check
black
to
king.
black
It
king,
is
and
not
it's a
only check,
checkmate.
it is a checkmate win to Vignesh. What is superb checkmate win to Vignesh. Dharnish out. Proddatur Marshals team all out and lost the match. Vignesh, with this win, he won continuously 2 games and makes his team won the match.
Giraffe Chess Hattrick League 2024 Season 3. Let us see match number 30. Proddatur Marshals vs Proddatur Jaguars match scorecard. Game 1. Proddatur Jaguars player Nandan Sai outs Proddatur Marshals player Sai Charan by checkmate in 43 moves. And in Game 2, Proddatur Marshals player Surya outs Proddatur Jaguars team Nandan Sai by checkmate in 57 moves. And whereas in Game 3, Proddatur Jaguars player Vignesh outs Proddatur Marshals player Surya by checkmate in 37 moves. Whereas in Game 4, Proddatur Jaguars player Vignesh outs Proddatur Marshals player Dharnesh by checkmate in 12 moves. So entire match finished in 4 games. And finally Proddatur Jaguars team won the match by all outs Proddatur Marshals team in 4 games.
And here is the points table of Giraffe Chess Hattrick League 2024 Season 3. Let us see what are the top 4 teams after finishing off 30 matches. Proddatur Churita's team with 12 points stands on first position. Proddatur Spartan's team with 10 points stands on second position. Proddatur King's team with 8 points stands on third position. Proddatur Jaguars team with 8 points stands on fourth position. Each team, after playing 9 matches, final points are calculated for top 4 positions. Top 4 teams only qualify for the final playoffs.